Island Sky Astro, a podcast that inspires the present-day visionary to live their best life. Welcome, team. We are going to be taking a look at the full moon in Libra. It is unfolding today into tomorrow, but essentially it is going to be impacting our lives well into this eclipse season initiation. It is going to be a time where I think that a lot of us are really reviewing relationship trust and betrayal and things around relationships and relationship dynamics that have impacted your life and still is impacting your life to this day. My name is Island Sky. If you're here for the first time, thank you so much for being here. I hope that you like astrology predictions, because that is what I focus on mainly on my channel. We are going to be taking a look at the full moon in Libra, what it means right now, to dive into this energy, what it's going to mean over the next 2 weeks. We're going to take a look at the chart, and then I'm going to give you what I believe is unfolding. And then we're going to dive into each of the zodiac signs and see what this means for relationship dynamics and you individually. So we're going to go through each and every single one of the signs. If you are here live in the chat, let me know. I said chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I would love to hear from you guys. Just let me know where you're tuning in from and maybe your sign. And we're going to dive right into the charts. Let's pop them up onto the screen. So what you're seeing here is the full moon in Libra chart. So first things first, let's take a look at the sun. The sun right now is at 16 degrees. It is right in between Chiron and Jupiter. Jupiter at 20 degrees, Chiron at 15 degrees. The sun right now in Aries is all about the highlight of our ego. Okay, right now we're taking a look at our ego, understanding who we are within relationship dynamics and what relationships are actually mirroring back to us at this time. And this is sort of like, because Jupiter is right next to it, or Jupiter is ahead of the sun. The sun is going to start catching up to Jupiter. There is a Sun-Jupiter conjunction that I specifically talk in the individual reports. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, it's going to catch up. That's going to be the highlight next week. But right now, this is sort of a conversation in regards to things that are being exaggerated. What is being exaggerated? What is being expanded at this time? Well, it is who we are. And it comes with a little bit of insecurities as well. Things that feel kind of sensitive, okay? And the reason I say that is because there's Chiron, okay, hanging out with this particular full moon. And this, sandwich of planets is opposing Libra, okay? Libra. What is Libra? I want to put up I want to quote one of my favorite astrologers, Liz Green, from her book, The Astrology of Fate. And she really summed up the best what this Libra energy is all about and what we are going to be heavily focusing on, not only right now over the next 2 weeks in our relationships, but also when eclipse season starts later into the months, a few months from now, when we're engaging in this, Libra Aries axis conversation, which Aries is going to be the north node, Libra is going to be in the south node. So right now we are kind of engaging already in this conversation as we're finishing up the in Taurus and the south node in Scorpio conversation. So let me pop up that quote by Liz Green. She says, "But it is my experience that both Virgo and Libra share a similar sense of outrage at the breaking of the rules. But Libra seems to project this vision of justice out into life in a heightened way. It forms the basis of the sign's intense idealism and belief in the fairness of life. I have never felt that Libra was concerned, as some popular description would tell us, with romantic love, flowers, and candlelight, except as an abstract concern with the appropriate rituals of courtship according to an ideal conception. romantic feeling is not a property of Libra. The sign is much more connected with questions of ethics and morality, judgment, and apportionment. The Astrology of Fate by Liz Green. You guys, I absolutely love what she says here, because that is my experience too, and I'm a Libra rising. I mean, I feel like that the Libra energy is really not so concerned about the gooey stuff, the stuff that is like the comfy, cozy, lovey stuff. It is more concerned about bringing really judgment into the picture that is very needed. Okay, it's very needed. We have to be able to take a look at both sides of the scale. We have to be able to take a look at both sides of what you as an individual you bring to the table, but then also what does that mean inside of relationships. These are the types of things that I believe that we are going to be heavily focusing on. And one of the other things that she says over here is, you know the sign is much more connected with questions of ethics and morality. This is another thing that is coming up at this time, that is going to be a subject matter over the course of the next year and a half. We're going to be focusing in our relationships on morality and ethics a lot, especially with Pluto moving into Aquarius, moving out of this. This is sort of going to be the conversation that we're going to start to move into little by little, phase by phase. We're going to talk a lot more about. There's a lot, of course, a lot more that we're going to be diving into with these changes. Starting this conversation now, right now, in relationship dynamics and in general, the relationships that you have in your life, you could see themes where insecurities come up because there is an exaggeration of an ethical issue, a morality issue. There could be a dishonesty right now that you're running into, specifically with certain relationships that are really important in your life. And so here, that sun with Jupiter expanding the story of who you are at this time, and you as an individual, your own needs, is that Libra moon right now that is basically saying, we got to pay attention. We have to emotionally process also how much who you are is impacting me out here. And what does it look like, right, to have stability right now? And the reason I say stability is because where is the ruler of this moon? Venus is in Taurus. And you can see right over here in this chart, Venus is at 24 degrees. Uranus is behind it. And this Venus here is looking for stability. In friends, in relationships, in money, in investments of all kinds, okay? And finding new ways in all of it. Why? Because our trust has been broken. Why do I say that? Because if we take a look at all of the Taurus planets right over there, not only do we have Uranus shaking things up, bringing a whole new different story to the plate, and giving us opportunities for us to really reinvent the definition of relationships at this time, but we also have the North Node with Mercury conjuncting, directly opposing that South Node in Scorpio. And this is about broken trust. This is about betrayal. This is about dishonesty. Okay. This has a lot to do with situations in our life where, there's something that's been going on for a while. And now that Mercury mind in Taurus says, you know what, we're going to have to deal with this because I want something different. I want a value that I can lean into. I want something that I can trust. And that Mercury, of course, is going to station later this month to go retrograde. We're going to be dealing with these types of conversations well into, May. And I think that what we are taking a look at here is that Mercury at some point is going to catch up to Uranus. That is something that is going to happen here as the weeks progress, the days progress. And when Mercury catches up to Uranus, this is sort of like, I can no longer ignore the voice within myself. I can ignore what I know that I have to be focusing on in order to bring stability, but this is also staying power. Okay, so any kind of conversation that you're having right now will have staying power. It will have a sort of consequential and very deliberate tone behind it. It may shock and rock, okay, the situations in your life, or it might be the other way around. You might also find that there are, a lot of very intentional conversations that have to do with producing certain outcomes. Okay, whether that is money or whether that is a certain worth, whether that is situations that now require some kind of management around that, because very often with Taurus, I feel like we can also see some kind of management that is necessary, some kind of steps that have to be put into place because it's lacking it. Okay. It's lacking some kind of process, something that brings straight results. So, this Mercury right here is already taking a look at how do I personally feel about the relationship dynamics right now that are not allowing me, at some level, result driven. There is no result, there is no backbone behind it. And so there is some internal sort of, stirring in that going on where you are starting to realize, okay, am I going to open up to this kind of a thing? Am I going to stay continuously on this one path with this particular kind of vibe in my relationships, or am I going to change this thing around? Am I going to invest in a different way? And relationships play a huge role where you're going to have to find a solution dynamic within your relationships right now. And so over the next 2 weeks, this is something we're going to be focusing on where you have to do things differently, and it requires a risk. Okay. This is another thing that I think we're emotionally processing right now. Why? Because the ruler of the sun, Mars, in Cancer, let's take a look at that. Okay. That Cancer, that, Mars in Cancer at 5 degrees, it is trining to that South Node in Scorpio. It is very emotional. It is frustrated. It is pent up energy, and it feels beaten up by betrayal. This is betrayal energy, you guys. This is trust and dishonesty energy. Okay, there's some kind of protection that needed to be put into place, but it wasn't there. And now there's a new territory because things feel different. Why? Pluto comes into the picture at 0. It's bringing up this conversation around even revenge. You might this with some people, even their conversations might not be you. Okay, these are just general themes right now because degrees are not at the highest degrees. These are degrees where we're still, processing internally. And when they're at the higher degrees, you'll see a completely different story. But right now, you might notice in people the kinds of conversations that they're having or the kinds of things that are coming up. They're trying to, have a grip on what's happening emotionally with them because stuff is catching up. There's stuff that has happened, hasn't been dealt with. It was out of integrity. And this out of integrity thing is going to come up for processing with the balsamic moon we're going to have right before that solar eclipse is going to happen in Aries. And by the way, if you're here in the chat, say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If any of this is resonating, let me know. Are there themes like this that you are dealing with at this time? I'm just always curious to know how things are unfolding because sometimes this job can be a little bit I don't want to say lonely, but when the cameras are off, the cameras are off, and then there's only X amount of connection that we're having. It's not like we're having coffee every week together, but this is kind of like our coffee time, I guess, here online. But I always love to know, what you guys are experiencing and how things are unfolding in your life because it's just so interesting, right? Like astrology, if the language is respected, then these themes are really helping to get us through some of these, themes and situations that we're taking a look at. Now, I want to go back to the chart here real quick because not only is that Mars trining, the South Node, you can see the South Node also trining down to Saturn, the Saturn in Pisces, we just moved into it. Saturn in Pisces, a whole different now set of responsibilities that have to do again with spirituality, again with, faith, with the meaning of things in our life, depending on where the Saturn in Pisces is transiting through. It is bringing up sort of a separation between you and your own faith and your own spirituality, and wherever this is transiting through, and also lessons in order to master the Saturn and Pisces transit that we're going to be in over the next, 2.5 to 3 years, where we must pay attention now to not only, being mastering something, but essentially taking a look at how our faith plays into it. Okay, how it fuels us. And the only way that we can, kind of dive into it is that we have to sort of take a look at grounding our spirituality, our things that give meaning in our lives, that give us sort of the spiritual connection. So really interesting time. I mean, I feel like this Saturn right over here is brewing sort of up, the kind of doo-doo we've been swimming in. Okay. I said this from the beginning. This Saturn in Pisces is signaling regrets, the beginning stages of that. It's not the only theme, but right now, this is the theme. And it has to do with you having to tighten up your belief. What do you believe about the relationships in your life? What do you believe about what is unfolded? What are your beliefs around the breakdowns with trust or betrayal or old stories where people have crossed the boundary or are still crossing the boundary? These are types of things that we are processing emotionally. And ultimately, this particular full moon is brewing what's to come in this eclipse season by basically throwing out the question, who is with you and who is not? That is the biggest thing I believe that we are processing over the next 2 weeks. There's internally decision making that is coming up over this Mercury in retrograde phase. And then you are thinking of these decisions that you're making for your life over the next 2 to 3 weeks, who is with you and who will not be. And there's a risk taking involved with all of that, emotionally processing it and taking a risk with this, because Mars in Cancer is going to act here upon the emotions that are coming up. And we know we need to keep, moving things forward. We can't stay stuck in the same emotion anymore. We've been thinking a lot in that Mars in Gemini over the last 6 to 7 months about what we've been wanting to do in the next chapter and next phase of our life, or it just brought up. And now we have to move things, forward. And so this is sort of a time also. The last thing I want to say is with Pluto in Aquarius, we can see right over here that Pluto is opposing Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith is at 2 degrees in Leo. That Pluto still at 0. This is sort of like a dip, of can our heart really get involved? Can our heart really feel this new stuff? Can we handle it? These are some fears that come up. And the reason this is coming up is because we must protect. We must protect and put a good solid boundary down. So think about that. Think about the relationship dynamics right now, the breakthroughs you could have if you just thought in terms of boundary, in terms of risk-taking, decision-making. What are you willing to bet on? What are you willing to trust? And what are you not? And these are the types of things that we are. That's what I'm seeing here with this full moon. Whew, it's going to be interesting, you guys, like I said. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to pop the chart back up. Okay, we're going to go through each sign. Actually, let me see here real quick, because I know we are going to have. I'm going to just go ahead and reset this 2 hours. And we'll just go forward. Actually, we'll go backwards. Here we go. There you go. All right, so we're going to start with Aries. Aries, this full moon definitely highlighting relationships, but also business relationships, relationships that are really important to you, relationships that have a lot to do with the changes that you have sort of created in your life over the last, I would say, over the last like couple of weeks, even months. Coming into this year, many of you have chosen maybe a different path for yourself. And this was the initiation. This new moon, especially that we started at the end of March, has brought you to this point where now relationships in your life feel different. They are different. And there is a opening up to a new possibility of trust in relationship dynamics that require for you to heal where you would previously not open up about it. And it ties into how you portray yourself, the image that you have. It also ties into just, I feel like for many of you, it ties also into your vitality levels. Like for whatever reason, that particular full moon is going to highlight vitality as well. Because maybe previously, many of you, you would sort of just maybe create um, some kind of blockage, based from you in relationship dynamics that I think we're back. Wow. All right, you guys. That is crazy. Well, Aries, it happened during your reading. What do you really need to pay attention to right now, Aries? Like you really need to take a break. You have to pay attention to your big time. It happened during your reading, but let's get back to it. I am going to be pulling a spiritual card. If you're hearing the barking in the background, that's my dog. She's just pretty outspoken today. Whenever she hears like a dog that's like walking outside, she's like, gets like super excited. Okay. So let's dive into what your spiritual advice card is. 3 of Pentacles. Wow. Looks like for many of you, you are still dealing with a situation that involves particularly 3 people. Okay. And this situation has a lot to do with you making it work right now. Okay. I'm seeing that many of you, you're being challenged to make things work. Perhaps in a way, this has to do in business or even your career, but it could deal with a situation where you have to take other people's opinions into consideration. And right now is a really good time to work these details out, because if you don't work them out now, then what is going to happen is, look at that, Temperance, later you're going to have a bigger issue. That is straight up the message right now for you guys. Okay. I am going to try to pop that chart up one more time. Let me just see here real quick, because we were out. We were out for a moment. Um, Let me just see here real quick. Let's see. There it is. There's my chart. Let's pop this back up. Okay, wonderful. So, moving on to Taurus and Taurus rising. Now, the 12th house activity here has a lot to do with a new faith that is born. And this new faith requires a deep level of boundary change because of some support issues that came up. Okay. There was some support issues. There was some betrayal issues also that have come up. You know, that south node for you guys has been in the 7th house. Maybe even partners that have dealt with some kind of addiction issue or some kind of addiction or some kind of, attachment issue. So right now, this is a fresh start for you to free up your life and the day to day from these types of responsibilities. And let's see what your spiritual advice card is. Okay. Relationships will play a huge role because some of you are still looking to change your lifestyle. And that is what this is bringing up. There are some situations still within your faith and your lifestyle that are not aligned. And this has to get worked out. It could be small details, but over the next 2 weeks, you are going to be working this out, especially when that balsamic moon starts to enter your 11th house. This will also have to do with some friends. You're integrating new epiphanies in a way, okay? New sort of ways in which you will be relating to your friends, but it also then ties into your lifestyle and lifestyle changes that you are still creating. Let's take a look at your card, okay? 5 of Pentacles. Yeah. The 5 of Pentacles is a card that has a lot to do with being taken advantage of. Okay. The 5 of Pentacles in this card, it deals with worth and it deals with money. It could be that you are coming out of that situation now and you're starting to realize, wow, this was a version of myself that I can't, continue to allow. Why can't you continue to allow it? Because quite literally, it is too heavy to deal with. It's been so heavy to deal with. It can't be the story anymore. Right now, for many of you, you're getting locked in a way where you know that what you need to build for the future it has to feel supportive. It has to feel like it is the right thing for you. Otherwise, you cannot, right? You cannot survive these situations. They're too heavy. Okay. This is something to pay attention to right now inside of your relationships, because this is your own intuition talking to you. This particular full moon is your intuition now saying, hey, we got to pay attention. Like there's still stuff in the day to day that have to get, worked out. And things have gotten better and they are going to get better. But right now, we also still need to put proper lifestyle changes into place so that we are not being taken advantage of later, so that we're not feeling depleted, so that our self-worth is not impacted by this. These are types of things that I believe that you're going to be working out over the next, 2 weeks. Okay, let's move on to Gemini and Gemini rising. What a fiery time when it comes to friends, your social reputation, your goals in general that tie into also groups that you're part of. You could be part of like a fitness industry, a network of people. You are thinking the same, you guys are doing the same stuff, or you believe in the same stuff. And look at that. There's 3 cards that fell out with this. Let's take a look at it. Okay. So again, this is happening in your friends and social circle, but it also has to do with your heart's desires. There are some clashes that are coming up over the next, 2 weeks with what you really want, what you really, really desire, and how to integrate those things. This is going to be really important. And ultimately your career, by the time that the balsamic moon comes into place, your career is going to play a role in this as well, because you're going to have to, perhaps make some adjustments in your career as well as you're working out some kind of completion in a specific area that felt really responsible to you. You wanted these responsibilities, but you're bringing it to an end, or there is some kind of ending to a specific growth period, and it had to do with your skill sets, and there's a reward that is coming. And this is actually something that I have predicted for many of you. There's a growth period that's coming, 7 of Cups, but emotionally, you are still having to work out a specific situation that is not working in your favor. And right now, there might be actually some emotional depth or emotional feelings around that you didn't expect, that will come up for you internally to clear. 7 of Cups can sometimes be like one of those, it's super personal to us. We have to emotionally detach. Think about that. We have to emotionally detach. Why? Because it's not allowing for you to think free about who you are, what you kind of focus on in your life at this time. 2 of Wands. This is like you reconnecting to you, not to what somebody else is pushing on you. And somehow, like, you participated in that at first. It kind of started out as a favor, maybe. And now you're like, this is too much. Okay. I cannot be myself when I am focusing too much on this set of responsibilities. So there's some kind of completion phase that is coming up at this time for you, Gemini. Okay, let's move on to Cancer. Yeah, Cancer. That Mars in Cancer coming back dropping into your first house. What a time right now, recharging you, giving you a sense of vitality, but that's not what we want to focus on right now. I do talk a little bit in your report about this. Now, this is career stuff with this full moon in Libra. You now sensing and intuiting where you need to up level when it comes to your career and when it comes to what you want to see happen in your home life and your comfort zones, right? Like, some of you may not be comfortable at this time with relationship dynamics or how things are maybe even holding you back still, right? There might be even stuff that is holding you back at this time in regards to relationships that are at work, or relationships that are, family, ties or relationships there, where you're starting something fresh and you're needing a type of support that you're not receiving, or you are coming about situations where, like, these are the types of relationships not to lean into anymore. They're a new territory they're opening up. And it has heavily to do with you not being able to enjoy yourself the way that you want to. But over the next 2 weeks, this is what's opening up for you. The Knight of Wands is a card of, like, letting go. You can see that in the image too. And of course, you see the horse. There's a strength, okay, that is returning back. You are wanting to, some of you are also wanting to kind of make a bold move, okay? And the answer here is that this is the time to do it. There's no other time to do it. Knight of Wands, okay? Why? Because right now, if you don't, 5 of Wands, there is too much, conflict resolution that you have been doing, and it's burdensome. It's too much mental energy, too much mental focus, shifting the mental focus into you really just enjoying yourself, taking a moment. Okay, you're going to get this moment, right? And that is what is really important right now for you, Cancer, is that you need to take a break. Okay, you've been handling quite a bit and you can't go 24/7. You just can't. This is a really important message for you, and relationships have to respect that at this time. Let's move on. We're moving on to Leo and Leo rising. Okay. Wow. There's so much going on for the Leos right now. Okay. And this has to do with you opening up to a different future. You have to think about your life differently. And what's happening, though, is that you're dealing with relationship dynamics that are coming to a conclusion. King of Swords. They're coming to a conclusion with what? There are certain things that are being said right now that need to be, you need to basically pay attention to it. They need to be handled. This has to do with clashes of belief. Okay. What you believe is right, what the other person believes is right. It could be that there is a couple more relationships that to it. But you have to make a decision how you need to move forward. Because who is with you as far as the relationship dynamics go, it's just so clear, but you have to get to a point where you become more straightforward with what it is that you need. I'm going to shuffle the cards again because for whatever reason, that card on the bottom didn't move. That was still a 5 of Swords. Yes. In order for you to move forward, okay, in order for you to up level, creating money, having creative pursuits in your life, travel, maybe even broadening your whole horizon. The 9th house has to do with a fresh start where there could be a move attached to it, where there could be a focus, where you have to travel or you are aiming in a new direction that has to do with publishing stuff, that has to do with you really just applying your mindset, right? Your ideas and then bringing them out into the open. But what right now within relationship, what kind of feedback are you getting that you need to pay attention to that requires for you to make a decision? And you have to be more straightforward with what it is that, you know, your capacity is at this time. Like, can you really show up for these relationships like this way? There could also be a little bit of a blame game going on. You know, the 3rd house has like some gossip stuff as well. You could be hearing stuff where like people are blaming you for stuff, or and then you find yourself like perplexed. Why are they doing this? This is the first time you're hearing about it. And you have to sort of like work this out, right? You have to work this out within yourself. Like, how much of your time and effort do you need to put in here? What has come to an end? Because there is absolutely a new horizon that's opening up for many of you. That's what I want to say. We could do like another hour reading because I feel like relationship dynamics play into this a lot for you guys, where you didn't expect that people were going to react to you or about you in a certain way. Whether that was sort of new relationship dynamics that came in through a third party, like you knew someone or your brother and sister, or like somebody that is within, you know, your friend circle that brought a relationship in. And it looks like it has to do with something like this, okay, where you were shocked about how they were talking to you, you know, what stuff that they were saying to you, which was, you know, they don't like this about you, or they're constantly annoyed about this about you. These are types of like petty stuff, you know, petty stuff that out at this time that require for you to really push the reset button. Okay, Leo, like it is so important right now. You got to push the reset button. You can't get lost in this small stuff, which right now seems like it is maybe big stuff, but you can't get lost in the small stuff. You got to think about the big picture. And that is what the message is right now, especially over the next 18 months anyway. Let's move on. We are going to be moving on to Virgo and Virgo rising. This has to do with your money. This has to do with your commitments and deepening the money subject. Many of you are looking to deepen this anyway. So there could be a gearing up to expand your money, your assets, your wealth. This is a good time to think about investments. This is a good time to think about, like, do you want to buy a house, you know? And if you want to buy a house, like, what do you need financially? What do you need to make happen in order to do that? You want to maybe buy land. You want to maybe invest. You've got to learn about investments. And so what's happening right now is that as you're exploring this new territory, this full moon in Libra brings up relationships that kind of took from you or didn't enable you to, or support you, not enable you, that wasn't the right word, but they kind of hindered you from expanding because you had to put your time and effort into those relationships, but you can't do that right now, you know? And so what this full moon brings up for you guys has a lot to do with your intuition now signaling to you, hey, we want to open up to this new investment, open up to this new conversation. And what's so important right now is this understanding that you have to maybe be a little bit selfish in what you're goals are, what you want to accomplish, what you want to invest into. And you to bring this forth a little bit more, which might not be easy for you this time, because that Aries energy in your 8th house is you opening up to who you are when it comes to commitments and money and what you want to see happen. And it requires a plan, and it requires relationships. Look at that, Ace of Wands. I can't believe it. You know, when we're taking a look at the tarot in conjunction to what is happening in the chart, it's always so spot on. This Ace of Wands is like, this is a whole new version of you that is literally rising right now. This is you up leveling, you bringing a whole new sense of worth to the picture, to your life, which you have been working on over the course of the last, year and a half. So I love this energy for you, Virgo. All the Virgo and Virgo risings, this is truly a new time, and you're going to get flashes of thoughts that come in, new incoming thoughts, new incoming ideas on how you want to invest, what you want to see happen with money, and things you want to maybe even purchase or buy that will be important to you, where, you have to work together, or you may have to, get a loan out. This is like the 8th house sometimes can also be signaling where you are asking for a loan, you're wanting to get the loan out, but you're needing to get like the paperwork ready here, stuff like this that you need to work out. Okay. And look at this. You have to have faith that things are going to work out right now, Virgo. The Fool card right here says you have to think that things are going to work out in your favor. There's a little bit of this faith issue that is coming up, and you are going to integrate it. And I just want to pop the chart back up because I want to show you something. Remember when I said to you that balsamic moon, or in the beginning in the report, I'm talking about the balsamic moon that is going to be important because we're going to be integrating, the stuff that we've experienced over the last month, which is what the balsamic moon is. It's like reflecting, integrating, just kind of getting ready for, balsamic moons are really great to get yourself into a place of processing. Okay, where is the processing happening with everything that has unfolded for you? Well, it's in your relationship house, because that balsamic moon is going to be in Pisces at 11 degrees. And so relationships right now, okay, they require a new level of faith. And that is what you're reflecting upon, working on, renewing, which is because many of you, I mean, I'm a Virgo, but as a Virgo rising, I can just imagine, many of you have gone through relationship dynamics over the last many years that have not been easy. It's been a dark place with relationships for Virgos for so long that now it's almost like, oh, another shoe is going to drop. Like, is there something else that's going to happen? That faith is what's being renewed right now. That faith is what's the fresh start for you right now anyway, when it comes to relationships and trust, because there's so much betrayal and broken trust issues, that have come up, and you're still processing that, looks like that in your chart, because we're never really done processing. Whenever there is some kind of situation where our heart is broken, where a situation is not easy to deal with, it's not like that one moon cycle that comes around is going to fix it all. It's not like that. There's always another layer. It's like layered cake, really good layered cake, and there's like another flavor of whatever it is that you are diving into. And that is what this is. But this layer, a sweet spot. Okay. This is a sweet spot here where faith and believing again that things are going to work out in your favor, that validation is going to come through. And that's what I'm seeing from many of you. I love that. Again, if you're joining in and you're in the chat, drop a comment. Let me know where you're tuning in, because I see some of you come in and out. I can see that on my screen, by the way. Just in case you didn't know, I'm sure you knew, but I'm like the only one that is like noticing now. Okay, Libra, obviously it is going to be a big time for you, Libra. This is going to happen between your first house. Emotionally right now, you are having to take a look at, some kind of thing that you're running into in relationship dynamics, where how you show up, okay, and what relationships want from you at this time. This is what's under review. Many of you are like in this space where you have to make a decision. It's so interesting, okay? You have to make a decision of what emotionally fuels you within relationship dynamics and what does not. Because that, Aries energy in the seventh house, that's not just, any kind of romantic relationship. This is like your bond to other people. And so there has been definitely a lot of new action here, support that you didn't expect, but also you showing up for yourself as well as the relationships right now that you are focused on, that you want to be focused on. But there's still some dynamics here where you feel like you deserve something different. And is it okay to speak up about it? Is it okay to say something about that? Is it okay to increase that value? Okay. How are you going to go about that? You are working it through in your psychology on a deep level because it has to do what you can trust into and what you can't trust, who is with you, who is not, deep loyalty stuff that is going to get worked out. That Mercury is in your eighth house. This is like you really focusing on bringing the value of your life up, and your intuition is talking to you as how can you really show up for all of that? Are the commitments that you have right now too much? Is there something that you need to take off your plate, or you need to switch things around, but you're afraid to talk about it? That could be something like that comes up. You're afraid to talk about it because there could have been punishment kind of themes that came up in the past. Like if you didn't show up a particular way, there was some kind of punishment like thing or theme, or, people are just like disappointed or whatever because they knew they could kind of like come into your space like that. The eighth house can have to do with punishment energy. Eighth house can have to do with like, you emotionally something is pointing the finger at you and there's a consequence as a result of it. And so this time, it's not going to be like that. But these are the types of themes that you're working out, because that Chiron is conjunct with the sun conjunct with Jupiter in the seventh house. You are taking a look at the bond that you have and where insecurities might come up within relationship dynamics that are healing at this time. And there's a breakthrough here that is happening. Look at that. 3 of Cups. Okay. You have to explore new things at this time. You have to emotionally now take a risk, and you have to sort of show up for yourself and defend what is right for you, no matter what is coming up. This is a big time. The 9 of Wands is defending what you know you need to be focusing on, defending what you know is good for you. This is really important at this time, Libra. This is like a time where, it's exciting new stuff in your life. It's a new energy. It's exciting new relationships. It's exciting new possibilities of creating money and investments, making them bigger, okay? Making them and shaping them the way that you want them. Perhaps up until now, you felt like you didn't have the opportunity to do it this way. And now that you have the opportunity, like it is definitely worth defending, because, when you create changes in your life, people sort of sniff it out. They're like, oh, this person is changing. And then they show up still with that same energy because they haven't changed. And what happens is that you have to be able to look away from that. You have to be able to cut the ties. You cannot entertain anything that is making you feel like shit, trash, okay? Let's just say it that way. My whole table just shook because I went like this. You can't entertain it anymore. Like, this is the time to really walk away from shitty situations and people. Take, but there is no give and take kind of balance. This is your full moon right here. And then when those nodes start to change, you will start to change as well. Even more so. And the themes will have a lot to do with who you are becoming and what is going to be so important to you when it comes to your own morals and your own ethics, your own good judgment, and building a really solid or relationship dynamic in your life that you can count on. These are the types of things that you're going to be working on in the future, and more, of course. But this is a chance for reset. Okay. So some of these relationship tests may come up, but right now it is truly about moving on. If you've been thinking about making a decision, but you have not been able to talk about it, this is going to be the time where you're going to start to integrate slowly but surely over the next, 2 weeks. Okay, I have to gear up to make these changes now because the time is now. I cannot wait anymore. This is what I'm Libra. Moving on to Scorpio, Scorpio sun and rising. This full moon is opening up a whole new sort of lifestyle conversation. Okay, many of you have had this Jupiter supporting you in your 6th house. So things have been working in your favor. The hard work that you're putting in right now, day to day, especially if you've had a goal, it is working in your favor. Okay, things have worked out. Financially, they've worked out. That, Mars in Gemini has brought in a lot of change into the finances realm, but now Mars is in Cancer, and it's time to sort of broaden your horizon. But emotionally, you feel like there might be something in your day to day that is no longer aligning with your beliefs about your life, the meaning of your life. It's not bringing you the thing that you're looking for. It's kind of like, it's got like this, I almost feel like it's got like this weird, there might be something right now that you're taking a look at, that you're trying to improve in your life, but it's sort of like a dead energy, or it just feels like it's dragging. Something like this is coming up, you guys. That Libra in the 12th house, that's you intuiting, that you might be repeating sort of a pattern here with relationships where all the work, but the relationship is not. There's something like this that's going on. There's a little bit of a clash happening. And then you're doubting, like, what to do about it. Okay, right now. That's what I'm seeing for some of you. You're trying to figure it out. You're trying to figure out where you stand in all of that. But just give it a couple of days after this full moon in Libra, and I feel like you are going to understand a better picture about this. And of course, there's a lot of attention right now with specific relationships, business contracts, business relationships, and you working out sort of a new, like if you're in business, like the contracts that you're getting involved in, or stuff that you are needing to kind of gather or put together, or negotiations. This could be a time where there's a lot of focus on, finally kind of putting the value back into the picture when it comes to negotiations and contracts and specific relationships that tie into it. And so I feel like there's a little bit of that doubt. Let's just take a look. Yes, you feel like you don't know how to move on. Okay, but this is short-lived, even though it's the Hanged Man. Not that you don't know how to chill, but you got to chill right now and let the answers come to you, because I feel like there's an event that is going to unfold for many of you. 2 of Pentacles, okay, that will give you the exact answer you were looking for, but you didn't even know it would come through this way. Okay, just wait. Don't take any action right now. And I believe that in 2 weeks' time, you are going to understand what you're sort of figuring out in the day-to-day, right? Your lifestyle changes that are still unfolding, that are healing you right now, because these lifestyle changes, they're sort of purifying, they're just clearing things out. And there could be sort of this change that you are creating within yourself that then also creates a change with relationships where there was a shared faith, a shared sort of, tie, even a karmic tie, And look, you're going to feel so much more free within 2 weeks of a time. The Knight of Wands is you feeling like you have freed yourself from this set of responsibility, or you also, a lot of you, it seems like you're also afraid to hurt other people, or you are afraid to kind of right now to make like too much of a change. Some kind of themes around this could be coming up. Why am I saying this? Because again, you're changing your lifestyle at this time. There's a lot of responsibilities that you've taken on that were fun, that were supportive. It got you to this point. But now there's an integrating right now that is happening that has to do with relationships and what relationship impacts mean in the day to day. And you just understanding that there's some kind of feedback that you still need to get, and you're intuiting that over the next 2 weeks. This is something I think that is going to come up because relationships right now are showing you where they're standing, but there's some that you still feel uncertain about. You got to give it some time, because also the definition of your comfort levels are still changing. It's a new territory, and it's just something that not to rush at this time, even though you've got that Aries energy here, because everything that you need is already in this fire, energy, and you're going to continue to work on it. Right now, focusing on letting things unfold is the best way to go about it. Okay. That is my advice for you right now. Okay. You're going to start to see some energy kind of freeing up over the next 2 weeks. You guys let me know, okay, how things are unfolding for you. All right, wait, back to the chart. We're going to move on. We are moving on to Sagittarius, Sun and Rising. Sagittarius. Okay, so this is happening in the house of the heart, okay? The full moon is taking a look at your friends and social reputation. You're reflecting still on social changes that have happened and things that were really important that brought you a lot of fulfillment or a lot of fun, things that felt like, they were a part of you. Some of you may have even gotten into some kind of a hobby, or you have started a new journey, a new definition, a new path with your children. Sometimes the fifth house has to do with children. That fifth house also has to do overall with a sense of purpose. So it's looking at this full moon in Libra in your 11th house. That is your social reputation and your friends. And so right now, you are to reflect upon the impacts of you pursuing stuff that's really important to you, but then some people are not happy about that. There could be like some kind of clash in relationships, or you sensing that people don't have your back the way that you thought they would. And this is coming up and you're noticing it, or you're still kind of working through it. Over the next 2 weeks, you start to get clarity with your new comfort levels. Okay, because that balsamic moon is going to come into your 4th house. And that is when you are going to start to see, okay, you got to bring a sense of comfy, cozy back into the picture. You cannot worry about the stuff that other people are not willing to share with you right from the get-go. Okay, it kind of feels again like a blind side. Why am I saying that? Because you have had that South Node in Scorpio in your 12th house. This is a blind side. Okay, this is like you not knowing that things were going to come up the way that they did, that people would potentially have some kind of, addiction issue, manipulation issue, boundary issues based on their own story that then impacted your story. It goes layer by layer into this kind of a thing where right now with this full moon in Libra, what is there to integrate is you coming home to yourself. You realizing, okay, yeah, maybe there is another way for me to go about the things that make me happy, but I get to create them and I get to be sort of in a creation mode where nobody else sort of cuts me off because there's some kind of pettiness involved or some kind of jealousy involved, or people don't want you to pursue it in a particular way, or they don't like it the way that you're doing it. The 11th house, it connects you to people where, there's a shared sort of mindset. There's a shared kind of common denominator. But sometimes when we have an opposition there, this is like you starting with you again, really creating something that is making you happy. And of course, that Pluto now in the third house for you, that is you changing your mindset over the next 20 years. You understanding the power of your mind, the power of speech, the power of words. There's a whole new territory that you're going to dive into. My dog agrees if you can hear it. I don't know if you guys can hear my dog. Again, if you're just joining in the chat, let me know where you're tuning in from, and what your sign is, your sun, rising, moon, and the cards are already falling out. Look at this. This is so crazy because these cards came up for another sign. The Three of Pentacles and the Temperance card. Right now, this is about taking a risk on the things that bring you happiness, okay? And making sure that you're breaking away from the definition of other people's happiness. This is so, so important. The Temperance card brings a difficult situation into our life where we have to work out, the polar opposite of the energies. And as a result, we have a new mastery level on how to navigate these types of energies. The themes sometimes can be so different, like any kind of challenge that we go through. The themes are always so different. And right now, the theme that I'm seeing with this Temperance card has a lot to do with you, trusting yourself, but also being able to coexist with challenges that others may bring to you, and understanding when it's time to break away from that and not trying to still make it work out. This is going to be really important, okay, over the next 2 weeks. Why is that? Because many of you are going to finally feel like you can move on from chatter that wasn't important, from emotional, it's almost like other people's emotions kind of tying into your story. Does that make sense? Like 8 of Cups here right now is signifying for me that there were one too many sort of people's opinions and emotions in all of this. You've learned what you needed to learn, and now it is time to move on from that situation. You are going to be integrating all of that. That comfy, cozy feeling, you coming home to yourself, that balsamic moon, like I said, in the 4th house is going to give you that nice reset. So that by the time that the solar eclipse happens, this is going to be you knowing now how to proceed, how to make things happen, and really work on your happiness, which is what's coming, working on your happiness, working on what happiness for you means and how you can coexist in the world out there with other people who you have a shared opinion with. You are a part of this group, your social reputation, all of that is what you're going to be working out over the next 18 plus months when the nodal nodes change. But it kind of starts now. You kind of get a taste for that right now. Okay. So let's move on to Capricorn. Capricorn sun and rising. Capricorn sun and rising. This is like your career and your home life. A new fresh start here. Many of you are changing right now the definition of home life. And there is a lot of movement here. There's also things that you could be experiencing over the next 2 weeks that really heal stuff that you didn't get to experience either ever or in a long time when it came to home. There's some kind of situation here where you felt like you couldn't have it a particular way, or home and family didn't allow for you to also focus on your career in a particular way because you had to invest your time into home and family or your career in a particular way. But relationships will play a role. And also right now, you have to sort of investigate career. When I say career, I'm talking about you have to sort of investigate relationships right now in your career, or people that are like coworkers or even bosses could be a part of this, because there are some dynamics that are coming up that full moon that sits in the 10th house of your career and legacy is directly correlated to relationships that are either challenging you, or they're challenging you to think differently, or they're challenging you to continuously kind of stand for what is also happening at home. You know, there could be like these dynamics that are working out right now where you really have to focus on what makes you the happiest at this time without worrying so much of making it work for other people as well. No, sounds kind of selfish, but it's not, you know, because it's not always selfish to think this way. Let's take a look at all the other cards that are coming up. Yeah, because look, we've got a bunch of cards that fell out here. Let me just show you. The first card that fell out is the Seven of Wands. This is you having to pay attention in general also to your energy levels, okay? You might be a little bit burnt out. And the reason you might be a little bit burnt out, let me tell you, the reason why you might be experiencing this is due to that Mars in Gemini that's been hanging out for the last 6-7 months in that 6th house. You've been putting out a lot of energy, okay? I'm just going to pop this up here real quick. Mars is now in Cancer in the 7th house. So now emotionally, you are working out relationship shifts that you are still experiencing that tie into you having to pay attention to your friends, your social reputation, people that may have even come, you know, you have come across where it was not easy to deal with them. They kind of shocked you a little bit. There's a lot that has happened over the last like half a year. So right now, you might be in this place where, yes, there is another energy that is incoming. 8 of Wands, that's the next card. Okay. But you also need to right now rebalance everything and recommit. Okay. Recommitting to what is most important, especially in the near future, and sorting this out and kind of resetting like this is going to prevent any sort of difficulty that may come up or misunderstandings in the future. This also has to do right now with clearing conversations with people at work and also at home, and getting very clear and communicating straightforward to what you need to do, what you need to focus on right now, so that you don't, you know, feel like that you're constantly trying to put out fires, you know, because again, right now, it is all about understanding the new territories that you're in when it comes to home and family life, when it comes to money, when it comes to your career. There's a lot of new energy that is coming in, and you kind of have to pay attention to what's happening in your life, and you may have to consolidate your energy a little bit here. Okay. That's what I'm seeing for you, Capricorn. Really important stuff. Right. On to Aquarius, sun and rising. Wow. Now, of course, for you guys, this is going to be all about mindset, you guys. Let me just pop this up. This is going to be about your mindset. This is about you feeling like that you're pursuing something brand new now in your life that is, it makes you think about yourself and also just how you are impacting things via communication in a different way. Now, this particular full moon is also taking a look at your higher mind. Okay. So the 3rd house is everything that is like we're doing from the day-to-day communication, from day-to-day texting, phone calls, stuff like that. The 9th house has a lot to do, in my experience, with the higher mind. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Well, expanding your horizon, right? Learning something new, learning something that is outside of the definition of what you are dealing with from the day to day. And it expands your mind as a result of it. This has to do with philosophy. It can have to do with religion, and it contributes to your life and your point of view of life in a different way, in a much broader point of view. So you could be running into relationship dynamics here where you have met people, or there's people part of your life at this time that prove to you are not worth kind of pursuing. That relationship isn't worth pursuing. That relationship isn't worth kind of connecting with anymore, because something feels off. Okay, over the next 2 weeks, you could be experiencing that something feels off, or you could be making a decision that you need to break away from certain connections, from relationship dynamics. And the reason for that is because that Aries in the third house is saying, okay, we got to pay attention to not repeating certain mistakes again and falling for the same mind traps. That is the big message here. That Chiron sitting next to that sun is saying, what exactly are you opening up to? Are you clear about this? Let's pull the card. 7 of Pentacles. You can't repeat the same mistakes. You can't kind of invest into the same sort of currencies. And this is going to come up. It may not be clear right now because this Libra full moon, all right, even though it's sensitive right now, the energies will start to kind of unfold over the next couple of days. And that's when you're going to start to really feel what it is that I'm talking about. Hi, Molly. Thank you so much for letting me know that you're here. And the 7 of Pentacles here is basically saying, you know, in the past, people said a lot of things that they thought you wanted to hear. And you believe them, you genuinely believe them. And there's some relationship dynamics right now that are coming from a completely different mindset. Okay. This is not your mindset. And it's not maybe necessarily going to lead anywhere. So pay attention to those relationship dynamics at this time. Okay. This is going to be really, really important. Offers could be coming in. Things could be coming in where it's got that flavor. It's got that flavor from the past. And what is the flavor from the past? We got to take a look at where the South Node is at. The South Node is in your 10th house, the house of career, legacy, the house of even administrative work. For you, there has been some situations where boundaries have been crossed career-wise, okay? People completely blindsiding you when it came to your career, possibly. So we can't repeat the same territory again. We must move into a new territory. That is what I believe that the planets are communicating right now. And emotionally, this might be a little bit hard because every single day there might be something that is coming up here. Mars in your 6th house, where it reminds you of the new lifestyle you're in, but the old lifestyle that is kind of being reminded here. Okay, that Mars in Cancer is working stuff out, and give yourself time is what I'm trying to say. Okay, look, give yourself time, the High Priestess, so that you can fully understand emotionally where you're at and what it is that you want to focus on. You seeing the bigger picture for yourself is going to be so important, because your intuition is knocking on your door right now and saying, hey, we got to pay attention to this, because this relationship dynamic could bring difficulty. We don't want to dive into that again. 5 of Wands. That is the clear message, okay? Over the next 2 weeks. All right, let's move on to Pisces. I'm going to pop this back up. Pisces, sun and rising. By the way, you guys, I'm going to have everything time-stamped, okay? So when I'm off the video today, I'm going to timestamp everything so that you can come back and you can just, go back to your sign. You can listen to your sun, moon, or rising. Okay, so Pisces, for you, this energy has to do with money and it has to do with investments. And so right now, you got to pay attention to investments, but also relationship dynamics that have to do with shared resources, that may have to do with, it could be like you have a particular family dynamic where there's shared resources and it's more than one person that is kind of a part of this, commitment or inheritance. Sometimes it can have to do with inheritances. 8th house, not very often, okay, but it has to do with some kind of, common, commitment. And then it can also have to do with loyalties. Okay, so your loyalty going to a family dynamic, to a specific, monetary thing where you have this loyalty, you got to show up in a particular way. It can also have to do with relationship dynamics where intimacy is a thing. So you could be digging up your independence from that. You're trying to become more independent in this area. And this independence is going to be really important to you at this time. because you are realizing that you have sort of this opportunity to break away from certain situations that didn't allow for you to do things in your own way because your own point of view, your own bigger picture. Something like kind of a theme like this is coming up where either relationship dynamics got in the way or the situation got in the way. You kind of were maybe pulled into situations. There wasn't always an honest kind of way of going about it. These are the types of themes, okay, that you're working through. That South Node being in the 9th house. This has to do with people from a completely different, cultural background or even completely different background than you that are coming into the picture, and you're having to integrate, just in general, a lot of how you communicate, what is being said, your mindset, how you live, your environment. Those are the types of things that you're working out right now. And money ties into it. And relationships right now are showing you that there's something that needs to get worked out. And it has to do via communication. Okay. This is going to come up now and also well into, May, because that Mercury is going to retrograde in your 3rd house. So you're having to think how to make money, how to assert your independence somehow, or just listen. If it's not any of the themes that I just mentioned, it could also be just you feeling like you wanting to assert your independence. You're wanting to create a different kind of money dynamic or productivity dynamic, because the 2nd house can also have to do with productivity. But because we're talking about the full moon in Libra and it's an opposing situation, the next 2 weeks have to do with relationship dynamics, relationships showing you where your, individual kind of way of going about things there might be something that has to get worked out. 2 of Wands. You got to pay attention to what's most important to you at this time. What fuels you at this time when it comes to productivity, when it comes to money, when it comes to how you envision. It doesn't even have to be how you envision the rest of your life. It can be, what do you envision for weeks? It could be small steps. These small steps are going to prove to you that they are so important to communicate amongst relationship dynamics. Why is that? Because this is what brings a really feel good energy back into your life. And the people that are really supporting you, they are there anyway. You might even have right now a support in your life that you didn't realize you could deepen that relationship even more as a result of it. Could be romantic, could not be. The Knight of Cups sometimes can be a romantic one, but it doesn't always have to be. I mean, in this particular deck, we see roses here being given, but it's just you really focusing on what makes you feel good is going to bring even more energy towards all the things that you're working on right now that will change your mindset even for the better over the next 5 to 6 weeks, because of that Mercury retrograding, that Mercury kind of going into that 3rd house, you having to rethink any creative projects, any projects that have to do with like communication, even your environment, you improving your environment even, okay? These are going to be big things, but you got to keep the momentum moving forward. You cannot be slowed down by people who right now are not on the same page as far as money or commitments or loyalties. You got to keep things moving forward in the way that you see it fit. All right. This is going to be really important. You have all the support that you need. And that is what I want to remind you of. Look, the Chariot and the 10 of Pentacles. You're bringing also, some of you are simultaneously working on bringing a situation to a full circle. Like something is going to come full circle. You've been working on money. You've been working on some kind of up leveling in money, or some kind of getting yourself into a place where you're like, I finally accomplished this. And now I can bring this to a point where I'm completing this phase and I can move on. This is going to be really important, you guys. So pay attention right now to relationships that might ask of you to kind of be in that same dynamic, or commitments that are not feeling right, or stuff that is not right now. Okay, right now is a new energy to grab onto and to go with. It's not a time to kind of move backwards. Okay, and that is sort of the tricky situation, the sensitive situation with this full moon. Your intuition is talking to you about what you need to notice about who's who comes to your own individual ideas and who's not. And anything that's not inside of that realm right now, it just can't fit into the picture, because that Mars in Gemini, all right, in your 5th house, is giving you the energy to go after the things that your heart desires. It's giving you that energy to pursue the things that make you feel fulfilled, that give you purpose, that give you joy, but in a way where you are asserting yourself. Okay, you're making it happen. So this is a really good time to make it happen. This is a really good time to pay attention to you straightening out even you as a person and what you want to work on for yourself. And it's also straightening out your bigger picture. Okay, not falling for the same kind of things from the past again, where there's some kind of a clash because the beliefs aren't the same. So really important stuff here for you to pay attention to. And lastly, I do want to say to you, because that balsamic moon is going to come into that 1st house, you're going to start to understand so much about yourself if you just keep pushing forward with the stuff that makes you happiest most at the time, which can be tricky with a full moon in Libra, because relationship dynamics come into the picture, and we're like, oh, wait a minute, should I really pay attention just to myself? And yes, right now, yes, because the people that support you are there to support you, and the people that don't support you at this time, maybe they will come around, or maybe it is times you've got to certain things out, because, or certain people out of your life. I'm not trying to be harsh here, okay? But if it is too much of a trust issue, it can't be in your life right now, is what I believe that the planets are kind of showing you. This is the mirror that's coming back, because the 8th house is a house that has to do with deep levels of trust. You have to be able to lean into it. Okay, that's what I'm seeing here. You guys, I think that we unpacked everything we needed to unpack. This is a report for the next 2 weeks. I know it was a little bit on your side, at least that's what I feel. But, we're integrating a lot. There's a lot of stuff that we're working on, each of the signs. Okay. And of course, you are all 12 signs, but there's predominant themes for each of the signs. And let me know how things are unfolding for you. I love hearing from you guys. And I am going to be back in another episode, whether it's your individual horoscope, or I am going to be working on some monthly reports moving forward. Well, I did that, and I'm excited to roll that out. Thank you so much for being here, and I am going to see you in the next episode. Thank you so much. Bye.